The story kicks off in Labyrinth City. Creative name, right? It's literally shaped like a giant, confusing maze. It's a land of opportunity, sure, but it's also a death trap crawling with danger for anyone dumb enough to live there. Enter Nick. He's a swordsman running with a crew of adventurers. Nick thinks he's living the dream with a girlfriend and a burning desire to take his squad to the big leagues. But life is about to sucker punch him. His team decides he's dead weight. Even Argus, the leader Nick looked up to like a father figure, kicks him to the curb. And just for kicks, his girlfriend dumps him too. Turns out she was just using him for the perks. Absolutely crushed and desperate to fill the void, Nick goes off the deep end and becomes a massive simp for an idol group, specifically obsessing over a girl named Agot. To figure out how this guy ended up waving glow sticks at a concert, let's rewind the clock a bit. We see Nick looking like he just lost his soul. He's racking his brain, trying to understand why Hargis decided to boot him from the adventurer party. Apparently, according to Hargis, Nick just didn't have the spirit of an adventurer. Plus, the boss claimed Nick was getting arrogant and bossing everyone around like he owned the place, which really ticked the old man off. So he gave Nick the boot. While Nick is sitting there feeling sorry for himself, a random girl shows up and tries to cheer him up. He tries to shoo her away, but she's persistent, probably because she needs the attention. She hands him a ticket to an idol event, claiming she's a rookie idol who actually gives a damn about her job. Confused, Nick asks why she's bothering him, and she gives him the corporate spiel about how it's an idol's job to encourage broken people. She cuts the chat short, shoving the ticket and an umbrella into his hands before taking off, satisfied with her good deed for the day. Nick tells himself there is no way in hell he's going. But the girl notices his silence and yells that she'll be waiting. He stares at the ticket, sighs, and eventually decides to show up. And that is how he ends up watching Agot perform. Surprisingly, he doesn't actually hate it. He actually buys a ton of overpriced souvenirs. Problem is, he simps so hard he blows his budget on merch and realizes he's too broke to buy actual food when he gets home. The next day, he heads to the local hub where newbies gather to find adventure groups. The plan is to make some honest cash so he can eat and keep funding his Agot addiction. He walks in, spots a kid, and tries to strike up a conversation. But some old dude interrupts, and the kid completely ignores Nick. It's painful to watch, and things get awkward fast. Nick wastes the whole day with zero luck. He ends up at a dive bar, eating food that tastes like garbage, watching other people celebrate finding their new squads. A bit later, a trio of weirdos walks in and sits at Nick's table. It's strange because they sit in total silence, acting like they don't even know each other exists. Nick notices one of them is a girl holding a staff with a weird, ancient-looking gem on it. He figures she's probably some kind of mage. Then there's a cleric who is absolutely wasted. Judging by the cheap perfume on him, he just came from the red light district. The third wheel at the table is a dragon girl. The waitress drops off more beer, and Nick decides to make a lonely toast to his glory days and the memories of his ex-girlfriend. Nick looks around at the miserable group. He's convinced he'll never make friends again because trusting people is for idiots. He agrees he's got no adventurous spirit, slams his beer, and surprise, surprise, the other three depressed losers at the table do the exact same thing. They slam their mugs down and shout in unison that they'll never trust humans again. And scene. From there, the show dives into their backstories, starting with the sorceress. Her name is Tiana. She spends her days grinding magic training while people gossip about her. One guy mentions he's proud because Tiana is basically the school's top-tier nuker. Tiana walks off, feeling pretty full of herself and her magical skills. She hits up a restaurant and asks if a guy named Alex is around. The receptionist stays silent, so Tiana just barges in. She finds Alex inside, who is dressed like a girl for some reason. Alex's new lover tries to speak up, but Tiana sits down, bragging about finally casting a lightning spell like a total nerd. Alex ignores the achievement and asks why she's so hyped, mentioning some nasty rumors. His partner adds that Tiana apparently seduces masters for grades, which stings. She tells them to show some respect, but Alex gets annoyed and starts lecturing her about the gossip ruining his reputation. And then he breaks up with her. Turns out their engagement was political, and this breakup gets Tiana disowned by her own father. With nowhere to go, she gets kicked out of the family and has to leave. She arrives at her new place, realizes she's totally alone, and figures she has to fend for herself. So she starts hunting for a sorcerer group that isn't picky. but everyone rejects her without a reference letter. She keeps trying. She tries to get hired as a warrior's assistant, hard pass. It's the same story everywhere else, rejection after rejection. Walking home, she sees a horse racing ad, places a bet, and actually wins. Then she gets greedy, bets everything on the next race, and loses every single dime. Just completely pathetic. She wonders what to do with her life and goes back out to find an opportunity. While looking at a bulletin board, she spots an ad for adventurer groups. A guy walks up and offers her a spot in his team. But when she turns around, her face looks so terrifyingly gloomy that the guy literally runs away in fear. Tiana realizes her resting misery face is the problem. She tries to force a smile, and another guy approaches to chat her up. Same result, he sprints away in terror. And that is how she ends up at the bar with Nick and the others. Next up is the cleric Zem. He's from a city famous for the Temple of Medla. He used to work there and was super popular because he was apparently a saint, and a girl named Merrill kept bringing him herbs. One night, he was processing the herbs when Merrill showed up with another batch. While he paid her, Merrill grabbed his hand and asked if he liked her, but he shot her down, saying she was way too young for that drama. Plus, he was a man of the cloth, married to the job, so romance was off the table entirely. Merrill didn't take the rejection well. She threw a fit, screamed that she hated his guts, and ran off into the night. But Merrill wasn't just sad, she was vindictive and decided to ruin Zem's life. Later, Zem was chatting with a local about getting promoted to high priest. Everything was peachy until the cops showed up out of nowhere to arrest him. Merrill's setup worked perfectly. She lied, claiming Zem took advantage of her, and to add insult to injury, said he only paid her a single pathetic coin for it. Zem was devastated, mostly because he hadn't actually done anything wrong. They threw him in jail for 3 months, before finally exiling him from the city. After getting kicked out, he tracked down an old female friend who had no clue what happened, and she let him crash at her place. One thing led to another, and they had a little moment that night. The next morning, she cooked for him and told him to go to Labyrinth City to become an adventurer. He had spilled his guts about the false accusation, but she insisted he should go there and restart his life, since he still had youth on his side. She also handed him something that had apparently been left behind or loaned out previously. She gave him some valuable gear to help him boost his healing skills. So Zem hit the road, leaving his holy reputation in the trash where society put it. That is why he spends all his time drinking and chasing women now, which led him to that table with Nick. Nick listens but thinks the story sounds sketchy, like the rambling of a guy who's had way too many beers. But Zem claims that once he leaves the bar, he's going to hunt the Demon King. Nick ignores the drunk talk and turns to the dragon girl, telling her she's up next. She spills the beans about a theft involving someone she trusted, claiming they stole something priceless from her. But the booze hits hard, she forgets the plot entirely, and they all go back to chugging drinks. The next morning, the hangover squad wakes up at Tiana's place with absolutely zero memory of the night before. Seeing a room full of strangers, Tiana immediately evicts them. With no choice, they shuffle out, mumbling awkward apologies. But before they can scatter completely, Nick stops them. He channels his inner idol fan and gives a motivational speech, parroting the exact cheesy line that saved him when he was depressed. Then a light bulb goes on, why not just team up? Cut to the guild hall, where they meet up to make it official. The receptionist recognizes Nick, remembering his run with his previous jerk-filled party. She points out a survivor among them, someone who miraculously made it out of a nasty Class C labyrinth alive. She is referring to Curran, the dragon girl. Then she asks for a team name. Wait, actually, she just stares at them expectantly. Hearing Curran's backstory, Nick decides to name the squad Survivors, which is honestly pretty fitting for this broken group. Just like that, Nick, Curran, Tiana, and Zem are officially a party. At their first team meeting, Nick lays down 3 golden rules to keep them from killing each other or going broke. Rule 1, nobody asks about anyone else's trauma or baggage. Rule 2 is about handling the cash properly. Rule 3, don't die, always come back from the adventure alive. Nick volunteers to be the treasurer, with Tiana auditing him to make sure he doesn't steal any funds. Curran is in charge of carrying the loot chest. She complains, pointing out that Nick controlling the money sounds suspiciously beneficial for him. This sparks a lovely debate about the concept of trust. Since they are strangers with trust issues, the paranoia is totally understandable. Eventually, they agree to bury the past and try to build something new together. Meeting adjourned, they head to a rank G labyrinth called the Viscous Aqueduct to start their grind. As newbies, they have to clear 2 easy dungeons before they can actually rank up. Nick assures them it will be a cake walk. Rank G spots are basically kiddie pools for adventurers to learn the ropes. They chat while walking until they spot a slime, their first victim. They stop to stare. Nick explains that while they look squishy, these things eat literally anything in their path. If they eat enough, they get big enough to devour cows. But Nick shows them the easy kill switch. Just rip out the core gem inside their bodies. They keep moving, marveling at whoever designed these weird creatures to be so annoying. While farming slimes, someone asks why these things even attack humans. Tiana explains they were failed experiments, originally meant to be monster food to help bridge the gap between species. This makes Zem feel guilty about killing mindless blobs that don't know better. Nick tells them to focus, but Tiana keeps yapping. A slime jumps her, she panics and tries to blast it with magic. She whiffs the shot completely and accidentally blasts Curran in the face instead. They start arguing immediately. Curran feels betrayed. She warns Tiana that she will not tolerate any more friendly fire. They go back to hunting, but the tension is definitely thick. They reach the end of the dungeon and Nick tells them to stay sharp. Suddenly they spot something massive, a giant slime blocking the path ahead. Nick identifies it as the boss and says they need a careful, tactical approach to win. Naturally, Tiana ignores him and charges in like a lunatic, which surprises nobody. She nukes the monster with a massive spell, making it explode. Somehow nobody dies, and they grab the boss gem before getting out of there. Later, while doing laundry, Nick decides it is time to actually organize the team and assign roles. He starts by roasting himself, admitting he's okay at combat and exploring, but useless at magic or healing. He is also trash with heavy weapons. He suggests everyone else comes clean about their weaknesses too, so they know what they are working with. Since they were all exploited in the past, trust is a massive struggle. That is why opening up is hard. Zem talks about his healing, and Tiana swallows her pride to apologize to Curran for the fireball incident. Then she admits she's a glass cannon, terrible in close combat and couldn't swing a sword to save her life. The others follow suit, laying their cards on the table, bonding moment over. Next, they hit the goblin forest. Nick warns that goblins are weak alone but annoying as hell in a group. They stomp a few goblins and loot the gems. Tiana senses magic residue and starts scanning the area to find where the rest are hiding. Nick is impressed she can do that, but Tiana isn't celebrating. She sensed something else. There is a powerful entity nearby, which makes Nick nervous because they aren't exactly pro-tier yet. He figures it is either an ogre or a goblin that went through a weird evolution. He asks Tiana for the odds, and she confirms it is definitely one of those two. Nick tells the team they can win, but only if they are smart. They need perfect coordination, or they are going to get absolutely slaughtered. So running away isn't an option, they have to fight right now. Nick says the heavy lifting falls on him and Curran, because goblins have annoying magic resistance against spells. The others are on distraction duty. Since these monsters have thick skin, Curran is the main damage dealer because she is the only one with real muscle. Plan set, they move in. When they find the beast, Curran follows Nick's orders perfectly, which is a nice change of pace. She charges in, with Nick right on her heels. Meanwhile, Zem and Tiana provide support from the back, watching out for any surprises. Nick clears out the trash mobs while Curran charges up a massive fire spell into her sword, looking absolutely badass. She jumps into the air and comes down like a meteor, delivering the final blow and roasting the ogre instantly. Fight over, she starts harvesting the horns for cash. She pauses to look at a piece of metal she carries. Nick walks up behind her and accidentally bumps her arm. She drops the object and it shatters. Cut to black, we start a flashback of Curran showing how she ended up here. Before the cave, we see her walking through a busy market. She is monologuing about the Dragonborn mission, protect humans and fight by their side. She stops at a stall selling shiny jewelry. Her eyes lock onto a specific necklace she really wants to buy. She decides to get it but realizes she is broke. Classic. She walks away. But the merchant has a scam running. He calls her back looking shady. He accuses her of damaging the necklace, which is a total lie. He claims he can't sell it anymore. Curran is confused because she barely touched the thing, let alone break it. The seller gets aggressive, telling her to stop lying to him. He pretends to be the good guy, offering a deal to avoid trouble. He'll sell it for half price. Or he says with a smirk they can call the guards. Just as Curran is panicking, a man named Kallios steps in. Kallios asks to see the necklace while the merchant spins his fake story. Without hesitation, Kallios pays for the necklace, hands it to Curran and tells her to scratch it. She scratches it easily, proving the thing is just a cheap knockoff, not real gold. Kallios exposes the scam. The gold is soft fake metal. The merchant starts sweating bullets caught in his own trap. He is absolutely disgusted by the scam. He grabs the necklace and loudly announces that this guy is running a classic con on Curran. Kallios threatens a massive lawsuit, demanding the merchant return the real necklace and the cash he stole immediately. The seller caves. Later, we see them deep inside the labyrinth. Curran flexes her insane strength, handling the heavy lifting while the team watches in awe, cheering her on like proud parents. Kallios says he is proud of her, making Curran beam with absolute pure happiness. They push deeper into the dungeon until they finally reach the boss room. It is a giant snake hiding in a magic-resistant pot. This means the squad has to stay sharp and pay absolute attention. Kallios orders Curran to attack first since it is a physical brawl, promising the team will protect her. Determined, Curran smashes the vase with all her strength, causing the massive snake to aggressively burst out and immediately retaliate. The team tries to help, but the snake goes berserk and tightly coils around Curran. She begs Kallios for help, but the snake releases a toxic gas that drains her energy, dropping her to the floor completely helpless. Kallios and his crew loot the snake's treasure and abandon Curran there without a second thought. Ignoring that she is dying, Curran scrapes together enough energy to stagger back to her feet. She realizes Kallios stole her most precious item, the dragon jewel, an ancient relic forged by a legendary being. Dragon Tino. He spent a year crafting it and told her to protect it. When she returns to the inn, Curran finds out Kallios faked his own death to escape. He stole her stuff and vanished, shattering the heart of the girl who trusted him without question. Still, she doesn't quit. She searches every corner for him. She asks everyone, but nobody has seen a single trace of him. She wanders the streets until she finds a restaurant to grab a bite to eat. Inside, she spots a lone knight who radiates an impressive aura. She heard rumors about his insane strength, explaining why he explores dungeons solo. Fitz notices his admirer is following him, but he plays it cool while she tails him all day long. Curran mimics his every move until they both end up at a restaurant. Fitz gets drunk, making things awkward enough for them to finally exchange a few words. It is a short chat. She thanks him and says goodbye immediately. She never sees Fitz again. Now broke, she seriously worries about how she will survive. Lost and without options, she wanders into the same bar where Nick and the others were on that fateful night. With Curran's backstory done, the show cuts back to Nick's perspective. He is in a jewelry store, scanning the displays for a necklace similar to the one he accidentally broke. He just wants to find a worthy replacement for Curran's accessory, but the more he looks, the more he realizes nothing matches her necklace. He wonders why she wasn't even angry when the thing shattered. Suddenly, Agot pops up and greets him naturally. They walk to a park to chat. Under the trees, Nick explains the necklace situation, admitting he is frustrated about failing to find a similar replacement. Agot suggests he just ask Curran where she got it, so he can buy another one. She also suggests picking something beautiful and meaningful instead of a carbon copy. Nick gets excited by that idea. He heads to the market for something special. He meets Curran at a food stall. She offers him a bite, but he doesn't realize it is piping hot. He burns his mouth. Curran laughs at his suffering, and the awkward tension between them finally breaks. They start chatting naturally, just enjoying the simplicity of the moment together. Curran tells him to stop worrying about the necklace. Honestly, she actually feels freer without that old object weighing her down anymore. They hang out until heading back to the bar where it all started. To Nick's surprise, everyone greets them warmly, like they finally fit in. They sit down, relax, and smile, just enjoying the moment as a team. It is clear they are becoming a real team by choice, not just necessity. Curran shows off some magic tricks, but then the guild lady shows up and asks to speak with them in private. She offers them a special mission. They need to raid the Labyrinth of Bonds to retrieve a sword valuable to the owner. The reward is tempting. The group accepts the deal immediately. Nick asks for details about the sword so they don't bring back the wrong item. He demands a map and makes sure the minimum payout is locked into the contract. He makes sure everything is documented. Deal signed, they head to the dungeon. But inside, they realize this place is not a normal labyrinth. The walls are modern, featuring automatic lights and advanced tech, like some architect's sci-fi dream. To make it worse, someone is watching their every step through surveillance cameras. They don't notice the cameras. At a dead end, Nick finds a secret door that is clearly being monitored. They enter a strange room. Nick wants to move forward, but Tiana uses her magic to scan for any traps. She senses someone hiding their presence, making the scan difficult. They move in cautiously and finally reach the sword. Lights turn on and a guy's voice speaks over an intercom. They ignore him, staring at the sword on the pedestal. Well, the handle, since the blade is totally missing. The voice suggests the blade might be made of pure energy or something. Nick tells the mysterious narrator to shut up so he can focus. Suddenly, the handle speaks up, claiming that she is the sword itself. No one believes it. She insists she is the sacred sword of bonds, forged by the legendary Tenaya. She claims her power is for the just. Nick interrupts, saying they just need to turn her in for the reward money. The sword refuses to be sold. She offers her power, saying she would rather be used than sit on a shelf. When Nick grabs the handle, a security system activates. The room shakes, and a massive golem appears to crush them. Tiana instantly fires a crystal spell at the monster. Curran charges with a direct attack, but shockingly, the golem reflects the crystals and shoots them right back. Curran knocks it down, but takes a heavy hit immediately after. Zem rushes over to heal her, while Nick charges the golem to keep it busy and stop another attack. Realizing this monster is way out of their league, Nick screams for the others to retreat immediately, or they will be crushed before they can blink. Nick keeps attacking, but his hits are doing absolutely zero real damage. Frustrated, he asks the sword how to kill this thing. The sword says he needs to stop being a wimp and use her. Nick grabs the sword without a second thought. He charges the blade and chops off a hand, but he knows this won't be enough to win the battle. The golem counters instantly, smacking Nick right back into the hole he crawled out of. Leaving the squad exposed, Tiana panics and freezes the golem, buying just enough time to go look for their fallen leader. But the creature thaws out instantly, proving that it is completely immune to her magic. She realizes the only option is to keep slowing it down. She just keeps casting freeze. Zem follows her to the spot where Nick fell. Tiana sees blood, but she manages to find him in the rubble. He is buried under a pile of stones. They start digging frantically, trying to clear a path so he can escape. Nick apologizes again for breaking the necklace while they clear the rocks. He claims breaking it was actually a favor. The necklace represented a past he needed to forget but couldn't escape. They pull him out and Nick asks about the sword. But Tiana is having a total mental breakdown. She tells Zem she is terrified and just wants to hide. Right when they lose hope, the sword powers up, merging with Nick to create a link that lets them finally destroy the golem. With the battle won, Nick hands the sword over to the guild lady's assistant, but then they notice a strange guy named Bond standing there, and the group instantly bonds with him, making him a member of the survivors as they leave the dungeon. They realize the sword they gave the lady was a replica. Luckily, the room where they fought was full of copies anyway. They figure out the real sword can transform into a human, and that human is Bond. Back at the hideout, they split the loot so everyone can spend their cash. Nick gives a cut to Bond, telling him to go have some fun. Bond, the new guy, lays down some ground rules and tells them to rest, mentioning he plans to go see Agot's concert later. He asks Nick to tag along. Nick thinks that sounds lame and stays home. Bond asks Tiana what she is doing, and she says she is hitting the racetrack to gamble. They form a degenerate duo and head to the event. Bond reflects on how he waited years in the dungeon for someone to finally find him. Tiana decides his code name is Bond because walking around calling him the Sword of Bonds is a bit too obvious for the public. They enjoy gambling, and the next day the whole squad gathers for a meal. Bond is really loving his freedom and the company of his new friends. Nick hands the safe over to Curran so she can guard their life savings. He gives her the key and hands Tiana an abacus. Now they have all the tools needed to protect the team's non-existent funds. After doing the math, they realize they are basically broke. Nick tells them to work harder if they want more cash. We cut to a flashback of Tiana packing her bags after getting expelled. Her teacher gifted her a lighter. He got fired too because of her scandal. He smiled, telling her to enjoy her new freedom and live life to the fullest, and to never forget. Confused, Tiana asked why he was so happy. He just laughed like a maniac, leaving her confused and feeling guilty about ruining both of their lives. Before leaving, he promised to teach her the truth about her origin and identity. Then he laughed again, which made him seem insane. Tiana wakes up from the dream. It was just a painful memory. She misses him but has to face reality. The others also wake up, having dreamed about their own happy memories from the past. Even Nick dreamed about his ex-girlfriend and the good times. It is weird they all had the same experience. Turns out Bond used telepathy to snoop on their backstories. They meet at a restaurant where he teaches them mental communication to help test their teamwork against an orc. Bond showed off his combat skills, defeating the orc with a cloning technique powered by the group's magic. Then he explained where he came from. Nick thanks Bond for the lesson and tells everyone they can eat at the restaurant if they want. They refuse, wanting to enjoy their own hobbies. Nick goes inside to eat alone but is shocked to see Claudine, his ex. She is scamming another guy for money. Nick intervenes and exposes Claudine, who storms out of the restaurant in a rage. Thanks to Nick, the guy realizes he was being played like a fiddle. The group ignores the drama and orders their food. After eating, Nick briefs them on a new mission to collect rare, valuable herbs. These are used for medicines and poisons. Suddenly, Claudine shows up again with a thug to interfere. The thug claims Claudine needs cash to escape the Iron Tiger gang. The thug gets annoyed and says they should settle this like men. Nick accepts the challenge and they step outside. But just before the fight starts, the thug's personality unexpectedly changes. She apologizes for being aggressive and thanks Nick for stopping Claudine from scamming that guy, explaining that this grift has been happening for quite a while. She claims the other gang members know all about it. She claims the group is broke, so they have been scamming dudes by demanding expensive gifts in exchange for cash. This caused drama, so she tells Nick he can handle Claudine however he wants. She even offers him a cut of the profits. The survivors are disgusted, and Nick, fueled by rage, punches the thug in the face, making it clear he would never betray his friends for cash. The thug tries to attack, but Nick dodges easily and pins her down. Suddenly, another henchman appears, pointing a sword at him. Cornered, Nick sees Bond arrive to help. The rest of the squad shows up with the guild lady. The gang leader challenges Nick again, but shockingly, he proposes a duel based on mathematics, which leaves everyone absolutely confused. The guild lady steps in to explain the rules for the contest. It won't just be math. It also involves physical combat across 10 rounds. A round only ends when a team solves a math problem correctly, otherwise the fighting continues forever. The difficulty ramps up with every single round. The lady pulls out a box of names to decide who has to answer the questions. Round 1 falls to Curran, but she is nervous about being the math wizard. She is terrified of failing. Nick hypes her up. On the enemy team, Claudine is picked for the questions. Over the next few days, the group frantically trains Curran in basic arithmetic. While Bond gets distracted by a girl, Nick gathers the team the night before the duel, warning them to be ready for any traps the enemy might set. That is why Zem went to spy. While drinking with girls, he managed to squeeze info out of the rival team. He found out the rivals possess communication gems to cheat. But Nick has a counterplan ready. Nick tells Curran to act natural and stick to the training, waiting for the signal to execute their trap. The duel begins, and Curran receives the first math problem. She struggles to find the right answer. She worries about Nick taking damage. Flustered and rushing, she messes up, and Nick takes a heavy penalty, allowing the enemy to beat him up without resistance. In the second round, Nick manages to dodge attacks, focusing hard to avoid mistakes, but the time runs out and Claudine takes the win again. Nick is forced to eat another nasty hit. Curran panics, screaming she can't do it, hating that Nick is getting beaten into a pulp just because she sucks at math. Nick grinds his teeth and tells her to keep going. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad waits to ambush Claudine and her cheating crew. They are definitely using gems to cheat. Round 3 starts. Nick plays the human punching bag while Curran struggles with the equations. The team starts tracking the magical signals, pinpointing the cheating devices. Tiana springs the trap, interrupting the fight and boldly suggesting to the judges that they solve every single problem right now in one giant batch. The crowd loves the drama, so the judges agree and hand Claudine a mountain of test papers to solve at once. Claudine starts scribbling and radioing her accomplice, but Tiana locks onto the signal immediately thanks to her magic tracking skills. She finds the nerd feeding Claudine the answers, and the team executes Phase 2, capturing the accomplice instantly. Nick sees the plan working perfectly and decides to stall for time. He asks Claudine where her other teammate is. She starts stuttering out lame excuses, realizing Nick knows exactly what is going on behind the scenes. She tries to rush the cheater for answers, but the guild lady reminds her that outside help is illegal, spiking her blood pressure. Finally, they drag Claudine's accomplice out in front of the judge, who drops the hammer immediately. The plan worked perfectly. The rival team is disqualified and arrested along with Claudine. Claudine breaks down crying, totally devastated. Later, Nick and the crew grab dinner, laughing about the chaos, even though they barely understood the math part of the duel. Their focus paid off and they pulled off the victory. But while they celebrate, things get weird. Claudine, about to be interrogated, summons that demon sword she made a pact with. She plans to use the weapon to break out, raising the tension and putting everyone on high alert. Outside, Tiana's cat shows up, seemingly wanting revenge on Nick, but something is very wrong with it. The animal has mutated drastically. It bonded with the sword, evolving into a terrifying monster. The cat monster breaks into the casino, sniffing out Nick's scent to kill him. The guards try to stop it, but they get tossed aside. The monster corners Tiana and threatens her. It tells her to hand over Nick or she dies. Tiana thinks fast. Knowing cats are easily distracted by shiny things, she throws a trick to confuse it and manages to escape. But since it is a magic monster, it heals instantly, and Tiana ends up back in immediate danger. She draws her sword to fight for her life. Just in time, Nick bursts in wielding the Sword of Bonds. He blocks the attack, but then things get weird. His sword starts talking to the enemy sword, revealing they have a rivalry that has lasted for centuries. The swords communicate, and Bond dumps all his power into Nick, transforming him into a massive, ferocious berserker monster. He needs to forge a bond with Tiana to control it, but instead, he loses his mind and starts destroying everything around him by accident. Bond admits he just wanted to annoy Nick, but the collateral damage is getting way out of hand. Nick tries to regain control, but the sword is stubborn and wants to settle its personal beef right now. However, the enemy sword refuses to keep hurting innocent people for revenge, and the two blades start arguing. Nick seizes the moment, attacking the enemy and trapping it in a prison of ice before launching spears at it. The enemy sword breaks free using its power, but it has lost the will to fight. It doesn't want to hurt anyone else and actually starts to feel regret. To stop the madness, Nick uses special anti-magic cards from the casino, slapping them on the blade to suppress its power and force it back to normal. The enemy sword falls to the ground, surrounded by guards but oddly grateful to Nick for stopping it. Later, Nick visits the sword in prison to tell it that Tiana has officially sealed it away. Thankfully, no innocent people died, so Nick says his goodbyes and leaves without any dramatic speeches. The next day, Nick is jogging through the forest, trying to keep his cardio up. Suddenly, he hears a girl's voice, but nobody is there. He assumes he is hallucinating from exhaustion, but it sounds exactly like Agot encouraging him. She speaks again, and Nick realizes he is communicating with her telepathically. Agot appears behind him, telling him to stop running before he passes out. Realizing she is right, he stops. He sits down, startled, to have a chat. Agot asks if he has anything better to do with his time. He says running is all he has, sounding disappointed. Nick asks if she is just a figment of his imagination. Agot ignores that and asks about his goals. She says she doesn't feel guilty about them. Nick says not to worry, but Agot insists, bringing up the heavy feeling of knowing she might have indirectly caused a death. Nick tries to cheer her up, downplaying the drama and quickly changing the subject. Agot talks about what makes her happy. Seeing him motivated reminds her of the day she gave him that ticket. She confesses that when she handed him the ticket, she felt happy but also conflicted about dragging him into her world. But seeing him at the concert convinced her that it was a good thing, which is the most important feeling for an idol. She explains that some fans get obsessed, and she is glad she is not one of those crazy people herself. She would hate to be that desperate. Nick admits that if he hadn't become a fanboy, he probably would have become a criminal. Meeting her kept him on the straight and narrow. Agot sighs, which annoys Nick, so she complains back. She says talking to him makes her happy and proves her career wasn't a total waste of time. But Nick senses something is bothering her. Turns out Agot has cancelled all her shows. Flashback time, we see Agot before she was famous. Her real name is Abel. She sang in a bar to help her boyfriend Donnie, performing whenever she had a break. She was singing alone when a guy approached, praised her voice, and said she deserved a real audience. Abel agreed, looking sad. The man introduced himself as Joseph. He was a producer for a jewelry-themed idol group. He handed her a card and offered her a job. Abel was too stunned to answer. Then Donnie, who acted like he owned the bar, warned her about weird customers. Donnie clarified he was just the manager, not the owner. Joseph explained he was there to recruit her as an idol. Donnie immediately asked about the money. Abel was confused, but Joseph gave a speech about making dreams come true, which actually sparked her interest. Still shy, she accepted a ticket to see their show. Joseph asked to speak with her manager, and Donnie happily agreed, smelling cash. That night, Abel watched the idols and realized she wanted that life. She desperately wanted to be popular and accepted. After the show, she and 2 other girls accepted Joseph's offer and started the brutal training to become idols. They changed their names to fit the jewelry theme, becoming Topaz, Amber, and Agot. Despite her success, her relationship with Donnie turned toxic because he kept begging her for money to fix the bar. The darkness in their relationship grew deeper. Abel promised to pay him back after contacting someone willing to help her. While sitting out back, a stray dog caught her attention. She called it, but it ran away as storm clouds gathered overhead. Abel looked at the sky. She worried about how much money she had to help Donnie, knowing she had limits. She spent a chunk of her savings, but realized nothing she did matched the dream Donnie sold her. She stared at a ticket for an event Donnie organized, featuring Amber, Topaz, and herself, intended for fans outside the bar. Abel explained that all kinds of people would be there, so they needed plenty of tables. However, Donnie assured her she would have a stage to sing on while he handled the food. He was excited, but Abel, feeling discouraged, mentioned that this was where she saw Nick for the first time. She went out for a drink and overheard a conversation. A girl named Claudine was dumping a guy just because he was a broke swordsman. Agot followed him because it started raining, and the poor guy had no umbrella. That is how they met. Back in the past, Agot told Donnie she was sure he would make money, so he shouldn't worry. He agreed to meet her later. They met at a casino. Donnie started winning, but then everything changed drastically. He turned into a gambling addict, losing everything they had. Donnie is barely able to move. The weirdest part, the goddess kept staring at him. He figures she only sat at that table specifically to ruin his day. He didn't care about beating anyone else, just her. When he finally won a hand, the girl laughed and vanished in a puff of smoke. Turns out, the goddess was wielding a sword that controls the weather. She turned the casino into a frozen wasteland instantly, scaring the living daylights out of everyone. Donnie picks up a dropped card and realizes the goddess was actually Agot's paladin persona. After the disaster, Joseph takes responsibility for Donnie's debt, letting the guy live instead of getting his legs broken. But there is a catch: his relationship with Agot is over. Joseph warns him to act like they are total strangers. Later, Joseph apologizes to Agot, reminding her that legally, Donnie is just a stranger to him. But Agot steps in to stop any unspoken threats before things get ugly. Her innocence catches them off guard. She still believes in the dream she and Donnie shared. Even though Donnie only sees dollar signs now, Agot knows deep down he wasn't always a jerk. But being around him right now is just pure torture. She is sick of gambling and losing. Donnie laughs, reminding her that luck can't be controlled. If it could, someone else would be winning the jackpot. Joseph tries to shut him up, but Donnie keeps yapping, claiming he isn't worth saving anyway. He says even with a good offer, the bet is mandatory. He has to see it through to the bitter end. Back to the present, Agot makes her solo comeback, and Nick is in the crowd, absolutely losing his mind with excitement. She starts the show by apologizing to the fans for worrying them. She interacts with the crowd. She asks what they think she was doing while retired. Since nobody guesses right, she drops a bombshell. She met a white-haired goddess during the casino incident. She claims this goddess appeared, defeated the villain, and vanished without a name drop. Then Agot confesses that she is the legendary paladin, which shocks everyone, especially Nick. She explains she wanted to help people and inspire courage, just like the goddess did for her. She wrote a song called The Beautiful Paladin to express her feelings. As she sings, Nick can't look away. Her fellow idols join her on stage for an amazing performance. Agot seems lost in thought, reflecting on human emotions, the beautiful, the noble, and the nasty. It is a story of a paladin wanting to be an inspiration for those who fight. Later, Nick is in the forest, drinking water after a workout. He hears Agot's voice in his head again and tries to ignore it. He figures he is just hallucinating from exhaustion. Even after the concert, he hears her inner voice, wondering if he is improving, remembering how worried she looked last time. Agot realizes Nick is actually a decent human being who cares about stuff, so she gives him advice. Suddenly, the stray dog from the flashback appears. Nick picks it up, telling himself that even animals are strong. He reinforces the lesson to always keep moving forward, just like he does when solving problems. Scene change, the survivors are hanging out. Bond is reading an article about a ghost named Pinkman who kidnaps kids at night. He gets hyped and shows the others, amazed that someone can jump through the air in Labyrinth City. The group starts discussing what they would do if they actually ran into a villain like that. Nick tells them to chill, reminding them it is probably just an urban legend. Bond interrupts, asking if it is true and if there are witnesses. Nick tells him not to believe everything he reads, but Bond wants to find this stepping man, or whatever his name is. While discussing the ghost, a girl eavesdropping outside bursts in. She introduces herself as Olivia, an adventurer and journalist for a monthly magazine. Bond gets excited, saying he loves her magazine and has been reading it for ages. Nick interrupts, pointing out that Bond only found it recently. When Olivia mentions her job, Bond says something weird like, for the immediate love of straw dolls, which makes absolutely no sense. Then Zem reveals her real name is actually Olivia Servant, which makes everyone nervous and confused. Luckily, she just ignores it and confirms she is a journalist here to investigate Labyrinth City, though her clumsiness makes it obvious she was caught off guard. She thanks them and says she is digging into the city's mysteries. Night falls, a drunk Nick is wandering the city when he spots a girl all alone. He follows her into a dark alley, but she suddenly yanks him inside a house. Wait, rewind, Nick and Bond actually went out to watch Agot's show. Bond was fascinated but sensed something wrong. They rushed back to the alley. Bond is the only one who can see the ghost's reflection, so he starts attacking empty air. Nick sees nothing but realizes Pinkman is real and is surprised Bond can actually see him. The ghost flees but tries to whip the girl with chains before leaving. Bond dodges swiftly, protecting the girl and keeping them both safe. What a hero! They take the girl to a safe house known as the Net. They grill her for answers. She says it was Pinkman, proving her mom wasn't crazy. Apparently her mom tried to capture him every night but ended up hospitalized. This touches the survivors' hearts. They decide to support her and confirm the stepping man is real. Suddenly, the girl offers 100 gold coins to become Bond's apprentice. Nick tries to stop it, but Zem explains she needs to be at least 15 to train. He warns her not to endanger herself. Bond gets furious, yelling that he wants to punch Stepping Man in the face for kidnapping people. He decides to hunt the villain down himself, and the others tag along. Feeling bad for the girl named Ryan, they start gathering intel and demand a bounty mission for Stepping Man. They hit up the Bounty Hunters Guild, but it is rough. The receptionist admits she doesn't give bounty missions to adventurers without a track record. Eventually, she caves and gives them info on a guy named Hardy who has a high bounty. When she mentions the group's name, the other hunters start whining. Tiana tells them jealousy isn't a good look for hunters. One guy gets mad, claiming rookies like them should stick to killing goblins. His buddy holds him back, but Tiana insists they will finish the job and bring Hardy back in chains. The guy bets she will fail. Confident, Tiana bets a massive pile of cash on her victory, shocking everyone. The guy bets his entire fortune. She tells them to keep the money warm until she gets back. The survivors head to the dangerous garbage collection district. It is a hive of scum and villainy. They pray the guild didn't set them up. At the entrance, the doorman says he has never seen them before. Nick says they don't need a guide, just info on recent events. The man mentions a creature died recently and that a handyman named Greg has 10 men. But the juicy info is that a little girl showed up apparently wanting to die. Nick thanks him and moves on. The doorman warns them to stay out of his way while he is working. Nobody knows who the girl is, just that she is shocking. They find a filthy spot that smells like despair. Gang members ambush them, but the survivors capture the leader instantly, telling him to help them find Hardy, whose alias is Jail. Before leaving, they ask the thief if he likes this life. He gives a sob story about having no opportunities and insomnia, claiming they wouldn't understand. They actually do. They trade him some relaxing herbs for info and tell him to lay off the drugs. He warns them that Jail is a runner who vanishes if spotted. He thanks them for the herbs. They reach the hideout and Bond spots Jail. They bust in and catch him with a woman. Curran counts the bounty money in her head. Jail tries to window escape, but Bond is already behind him. Just as they are dragging him away, a man appears asking what they are doing with his patient. Jail begs for help. Nick realizes the man is Nalgava. He asks who they are, sensing they aren't normal. But Nick doesn't buy that Nalgava is a normal priest either. They discuss Jail's crimes. Turns out he did everything except murder. Nalgava agrees to let them take him. He heals diseases, not criminals. He mentions wanting one last job before leaving because of the yellow demon disease. Nick thinks that is unwise. Jail could get the death penalty or rot in prison. Jail tells him to shut up and just take him. Nalgava nods, thinking about diagnosing illnesses. He says he will return to his priest duties later because he is tired of this life. Changing the subject, Bond asks about Stepping Man. But Nalgava claims ignorance, dodging the question.